I'm Bob Joseph. Today is Thursday, August 13th, 2026. Our number is 607-772-1290. The lines are open to first-time callers and to frequent guests. Call, one and all. WNBF. 607-772-1290. Local topics are preferred, but we'll dive into the swamp of politics if we must. We must. I'll try to exercise a little bit of restraint, but really that's pretty much up to you, the home viewer. If you bring up some local topics, I certainly have something to add, having been here in Binghamton for a while, so I do have some unique insights as to why we don't have any passenger rail service here anymore. Did somebody say General Motors? GM, which I believe did more to curb the enthusiasm for passenger rail service in America than any other single entity. So thank you, General. It's a long story, and you do have to look back. You do have to look back at the sorry history of General Motors and I guess some of the other big car and truck makers. They never really were fans of rail service, especially passenger rail service, so they did everything in their power to kill it with the assistance of the government, the state and federal government. That's why we can't have nice things, because of big companies. So it's not new to the 21st century. This is going on long ago, when companies were more interested in their own profits. You see what I'm saying? They're interested in their own profits versus trying to help people. Yeah, I know. You're saying, well, don't take it out on General Motors. They're certainly proud of their record. I know they're proud of their record. I understand what they're about. I certainly understand what the people at General Motors are about. They're entitled, like any other company, to make decisions in the interest of their shareholders as opposed to in the interest of good Americans like you and me. Wouldn't it be nice? It would be nice if I could go over to the Lackawanna train station at 12:30 this afternoon and hop on board an Acela train and get off in Manhattan so I could see some shows, have dinner at a very, very pricey restaurant in Midtown, and then go see some shows. Go see what's left of the Ed Sullivan Theater. Yes, that would be nice. Unfortunately, we live in Binghamton. Rail service is unavailable here. We'll see. We'll see about the future of the rail service. I myself don't think there's much of a chance that rail service is going to return. Not in our lifetime. Will it eventually? Yeah, probably, but I don't see it happening in the lifetime of anybody who's watching the program today. But having said that, I know I've been wrong in the past, so maybe I'll be proven wrong here. Taking a look at WNBF.com, source of some interesting stories. We're continuing to follow the aftermath of the tragic shooting that happened near Robinson Street, near the Walgreens pharmacy. Now, interestingly, it did happen only a few steps east of the Walgreens pharmacy, but there's no indication that anybody involved had been, in the area because of Walgreens Pharmacy. There are certainly indications some of the people, if not all of the people involved, were in the area because of an after-hours business operation that police have been monitoring for a while. I don't know how long, and at this stage, sadly, we can't get any specifics on what the city intends to do about what has become a problem, according to people in the neighborhood. And one person specifically who contacted me, and she, I haven't been able to follow up in the last day or so, but she gave me a sense, an overview of what she says she's been dealing with in that neighborhood for a long time. Let me read what she sent. So basically, this gives us a little insight in what people in that section of the east side near Walgreens and near this Poncho's Caribbean Kitchen say they have to put up with on a regular basis. And I'll have to concede, I can't independently corroborate this. I did send a note to Mayor Cram asking some very specific questions about the property at 92 Robinson Street that police were in the area monitoring. That's the thing. As we reported on Saturday, the police were there at the time of the shooting. But the problem is you can have police officers watching every intersection in Binghamton. You can't really stop people from shooting someone. I mean, you can try. I don't know. I don't care how many flock safety automated license plate readers or how many surveillance cameras, or for that matter, how many police officers you assign to any specific street. I see no way that you're ultimately going to prevent shootings. If somebody is determined to shoot someone else, the police are not going to be able. That's the thing. Even in New York State, with some of the toughest gun laws in the country, shooters do get access to guns. So the non-criminals have tougher times dealing with guns. Okay, so this is what a woman wrote to me over the weekend. I can't help but comment on last night's shooting. I've lived on Whitney Avenue for a while. I raised my kids on this street, and every single weekend from 3:30 to 7 a.m., this place does after-hours parties. Again, this is what she's telling me. I wasn't there last weekend, so I don't know anything about what happens after midnight. She writes, there's barely food served during these hours. They serve tequila and Hennessy-based drinks. If they do serve food, it's very, very minimal menu. My vehicles are constantly hit by some drunk person, or there's fights, or they're in the streets, like around Whitney Avenue, partying as if it's a parking ramp. It's gotten so bad, I've conditioned myself to be awake during those hours because I'm afraid someone will damage my vehicle, as they've done 7 or 8 times just this year. So that's one person's story. Again, I can't corroborate it, but I didn't seek out the information. And as we've reported, the police have been monitoring the place now for a while. Don't know. I don't know for how long. I did send an email to the mayor asking some specific questions. So these are the questions I submitted to the mayor. Was the city preparing to take action regarding this location before Saturday's shooting? Is any action being contemplated in the aftermath of the incident? Is there information that alcohol has been served since the 2023 partial lockdown directive was issued? Is the business still allowed to operate? And I wrote, thanks. The mayor did reply quickly, which I appreciated. He said, at this point, any comment will be through official BPD channels, as this is an active homicide investigation. So for now, we'll leave it there as far as the questions that continue about that location. Now, putting it into some context, some historical context, the address may be vaguely familiar to some people because this is not the first shooting that's happened in the area. As we previously had reported, there was a shootout. A shootout back in 2021. I believe it was about a little over 5 years ago. July 2021, a shootout occurred near a purported after-hours club at 92 Robinson Street. Now, it was not the business that's there now. I don't know if there was, in fact, a real name attached to the business. When I went out there back in 2021 after the so-called shootout, I didn't see any signage indicating there was a business operating there. So at least one house was struck by gunfire in that episode just over 5 years ago, and then the city issued a lockdown warning to the property owner in September 2022. So Pancho's Caribbean Kitchen has been open at the site, it appears, for about 3 years. I don't know exactly when it opened. Now, I thoughtfully stopped in yesterday afternoon to see if the place is open for business. It is open for business. There are a couple people inside. A woman behind the counter who said she didn't know anything about Saturday's shooting except from what she had heard, but she didn't know any more than what has been reported. That's what she said. And I asked her, well, so this place is still allowed to stay operating? And she said, yeah. So that's all I know. I haven't been able to contact the owners of the place, and I certainly would like to speak with them if they want to send an email to Bob at WNBF.com, because I would be glad to include anything that they have to say publicly about this. 607-772-1290, WNBF. As you also may recall, last Friday the mayor was on the program, and one of the topics I brought up with Mayor Cram was lockdowns and places being monitored. And at that point, as of last Friday, he was not able to say anything publicly, which, given the nature of these cases, is not surprising. You really can't say anything much in public until action is taken, whether it's through the courts or the city's legal office, corporation counsel. At that point, once things are official and on the record, at that point, the mayor or others are certainly in a position to say something publicly, but I do appreciate that you can't just on the radio program automatically say, oh yeah, here's what I think about this place or that place. And look, Binghamton, although it's a small city, I know there are several locations that need to be monitored. Some are being monitored by me right now as a reporter, but not necessarily because of illegal activity, just because there'll be things happening, typically completely legal stuff, new businesses or expansions or whatever. But the police, part of their responsibility is to monitor problem spots, even if they're not able to shut them down. That's the one thing people may not fully appreciate with law enforcement. Police, trust me, I know a lot of police officers and am in contact with local police chiefs on a regular basis. A lot of them know exactly where the drug houses and trap houses and troublemakers are. I'm using troublemakers. I'm using air quotes because I don't want to be judgmental. I mean, you understand what I'm referencing. The cops in our small communities, whether it's Binghamton, Vestal, Endicott, Johnson City, or the sheriff's deputies and investigators or state troopers, they're pretty familiar with the players because they patrol. They're patrolling and investigating 365 days a year. So they become very familiar with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So they know, to a large extent, what's going on. Now, they understandably are as frustrated, maybe more frustrated, than residents when they realize that there's some sort of illicit activity going on. But look, we're a nation of laws, and there are procedures involved. And just because it appears that illegal activity is occurring at a specific spot, they can't just kick the door in and say, hey, stop. We think you're doing bad things. Stop your bad things, and everybody come with us. They can't do it. There's a process. There are procedures. As there should be. As there should be. You don't want, I shouldn't say you. I don't want to tell you what you want. I wouldn't want the police around here to be able to indiscriminately just kick in doors and say, hey, we have information that there's bad stuff, illegal stuff going on, so stop it. You're coming with us, and watch out for my new electric glove. So it's complicated, like everything else in life. 607-772-1290. Do you have any thoughts? Do you have any thoughts about what can be done to deal with some challenging situations? Another bigger question. I don't think I've asked this question before, at least not in this overly simplified way. Do you feel safe in Broome County? Short and to the point. Do you personally feel safe in Broome County? 607-772-1290. I'm Bob Joseph. It's Thursday morning on WNBF. 9:32. Welcome to another Thursday broadcast. A happy Thursday. I had a couple of extra minutes on my way in to the fabulous WNBF studios, so I took the scenic route. I went through some of the less traveled sections of the First Ward, some places I hadn't been in a while. Oh, my goodness, I love it. I wish I knew the entire history from the very beginning of Binghamton's First Ward. I want to know the person who laid out the streets. I understand Glenwood Avenue. I understand that. I understand Downs Avenue. I understand Prospect Street. I want to know who the person was who came up with the idea for all the other streets in the First Ward. What was she thinking? I think I'll ask that when Jerry Smith is in again. What was she thinking when she came up with some of those other streets? The Stanleys and the Hazels and the... Well, you know, there's so many. They're great streets, Mattis. They're fantastic streets. And each one has its unique personality. But it doesn't work on the usual system of streets. This street system typically, not always, but in many cities, it follows some sort of a grid system. Look at New York City. I understand the streets of New York City. Well, at least Manhattan. Don't get me started about Queens or Brooklyn or the Bronx and Staten Island. Sorry, haven't been there. But the First Ward is special. Absolutely special. And I would love to do a story. Someday I'll do a story. I have to watch out because I'm suggesting this. Now Jerry Smith will beat me to it. Jerry, if you're listening, don't beat me to this story with your column in the Press and Sun Bulletin. I want to do a story about the true history, the fascinating history behind the layout of the streets. In the First Ward. Again, I get Glenwood, I understand Downs, Prospect, and so on. Heck, Lake Avenue, Miles Street, I get those. But again, what about some of these other streets? Wilson? Mysteries without any clue. Charles Street? There has to be an explanation. And eventually I'm going to find out. And then I'll put the story at WNBF.com. It's 9:35. Eric and Endwell, good morning.
Good morning. It's been a while, Bob.
I know. How is your neighborhood, by the way? I haven't been on your street in a couple of years. Everything okay?
Yeah, I took a job, and I don't usually get to call in, but I thought today might be important because I went to the public hearing last night in the town of Union about e-bikes.
Oh, yes. Tell me about that, because we're going to be talking with the town supervisor soon, and that, I think, is going to be probably my first topic. Tell me about the meeting.
Okay, he came out and he spoke very well and told us, what he planned on hearing from us. He had a sergeant from the troopers barracks and a sergeant from the sheriff's department there with information. After about 6 or 7 of us spoke, they took questions from the 2 officers, and it was a nice meeting. I mean, I spoke first, and after me, I was mostly speaking about injury. There was one guy that spoke about he was an e-bike rider, older gentleman, and he was for it. He was a little concerned that they'd take his bicycle rights away, but that's not what it was. And the rest of us kind of aimed towards the juvenile part of the behavior that they're doing, like the street takeovers, stuff like that. That's what I spoke on.
So, since Sheriff Akshar announced the big crackdown, are things better?
Well, the sergeant for the sheriff's department that showed up said there hasn't been a date yet for the crackdown.
Okay. So what's your experience? I've heard from people who live in Endwell, especially around Park Manor, that area of Hooper Road, not just the residential area, but also Highland Park and some of the businesses, that things really have been getting out of control in recent months. What are you seeing, or what are you hearing around your part of Endwell?
Well, it's basically a lot of people are concerned with injuries. If a minor hits somebody coming out of a storefront, breaks their ankle, there's no insurance to cover the injuries, or the out of work. Someone's experienced possibly surgery, they'll be out of work for some time, so there's no insurance to cover that on the e-bike riders. And the minors are very defiant. I don't know if you know what a street takeover is, but there's 10 to 50. I've seen hundreds on social media where they join hands or whatnot, and they take over the whole street, both sides. Don't stop at stop signs, run red lights. And I don't think anyone 14, 15 years old, even younger than that, would know the first thing about, they don't even have their permit, so they don't even know the rules of the laws. I mean, maybe like hand signals. I don't know if they went away, but I would think you'd need hand signals on an e-bike, right?
You would think. Have there been street takeovers that you either have seen or heard about in Endwell in recent weeks?
Yeah, I saw one a few weeks ago going down Washington Avenue.
Really? What part of the avenue?
They went down from Wendy's down to North Street, and after the police got involved, they split up. And come to find out, they ended up at the BAE parking lot where they loaded up the e-bikes and a couple pickup trucks, and the parents, the fathers were there waiting, and they were all from Johnson City area, and I spoke on that last night. So the parents were involved in the street takeover. Maybe they think it's harmless, but somebody's going to get killed, and then maybe the state will change laws. But the town union's doing everything they can locally, but I think it's going to be, who's going to address this? The police definitely don't have enough time to just pull over e-bikes all day long. Like the domestic violence and the DWIs or whatnot, there's so much more they could be doing than they're worrying about pulling over minors on e-bikes. Something's got to be done with the parents.
Exactly. The parents have to take some responsibility. I guess ultimately the question is, when will somebody get killed? Because it's happening around the country. New York City, a lot of other big cities and small towns, young people, teenagers, and sometimes older people have been killed. Sometimes innocent people wind up getting killed if they're struck by these illegal vehicles racing around at high speeds. It seems like it, as often is the case around here, it's going to take a tragedy before something really gets done.
Yeah. Another thing I spoke on was, when you get a DWI or AI in your before you're convicted or whatever, they take your license. Now, you can go and get an e-bike, and it's not registered, not insured. You don't need a license to drive these. And driving is a privilege. So what kind of punishment are you doing for your time that you got caught up drinking and driving? What kind of punishment are you doing when you lose your license? You're still able to use transportation. I mean, they got to do something. I think there should be laws passed where you can't even ride an e-bike if you get convicted of a DWI. Well,
at some point, I think Albany is going to have to take action. It's not going to be solved by individual towns or villages or cities adopting their own ordinances. It might be a step in the right direction, but I think ultimately there needs to be some action at the state level and actually a public service campaign with ads, or even, dare I say, people like Governor Hochul or the state police superintendent, or even sheriffs. I was glad that Sheriff Akshar announced the crackdown at a news conference. I thought he might come on this program to talk about his planned crackdown, because I think it's that important. I think it deserves to be discussed in every possible venue.
I don't know if you're going to get everyone on your show that you would like to speak to. I mean, some people call your show, some people don't. Maybe some people don't even listen.
No, I'm sure most people don't listen, and I respect that. That's certainly a viable choice. Not listening to the program, I think, is actually a thoughtful choice.
I mean, Bob, let me ask you one more question. What would happen if you're driving your work vehicle and it's wrapped with your radio station label on it? You're on the clock, and you hit one of these 14-year-old on the e-bike. What's going to happen to you?
It wouldn't be pleasant. I can't say exactly what would happen, but it would be problematic. It would be a serious problem. And trust me, I drive around for my work. Look, I've been on your street covering some of the problems that you had in your neighborhood. So I actually go out and report every day, because I feel a need to actually talk with people like you and get the story directly. But now more than ever, I am concerned. I mean, I saw, what day was it? I think Tuesday, and I can't remember if it was downtown Binghamton or Johnson City. It was on Main Street, either Binghamton or Johnson City. And indeed, there's a teenager, I think, probably 13 to 15 years old, zipping through an intersection against the light. And fortunately, I saw this person. But I'll tell you, if something were to happen, whether I hit the person on the illegal e-bike or whether he hit my vehicle, I would face a lot of questions.
Yeah, you might even lose your livelihood, and you've been doing this how many years, and you're going to lose it over a juvenile illegally riding an e-bike?
And remember, that could happen to anyone. I mean, that could happen to you, and it could happen to police, too, or fire vehicles, or what about ambulances responding to an emergency? They're moving forward, trying to get to the scene to save someone's life, and they've got their emergency lights and sirens activated. But I'll tell you, I bet in a lot of cases that the people who are riding these illegal bikes or scooters or whatever, I bet they ignore all those warning devices. And if there's a collision and sadly a teenager is hurt or killed, the person who is operating the emergency vehicle is going to be getting in trouble too.
One lady spoke last night was Supervisor Mac's neighbor, and she was videotaping some children, and they started circling around her in a defiant or threatening manner.
That's what I've heard. I've heard people, including a business operator who has worked hard to establish his business, and people love his business, and they came in, I'm told, to his business, and he didn't report it to the authorities because he was afraid of retribution. So it's a serious problem. Eric, thank you for your call.
Thank you for having me again. Nice talking to you.
It's 9:45 at WNBF and WNBF.com. 607-772-1290. It's Thursday morning. More calls are coming up on your favorite local talk program. It's 9:48. Let's take more calls. James in Binghamton, you're on the air.
You know, Easy Rider would have to be in the shortlisted movies that just kind of end, and you're just like, huh? I guess that's the end. Okay.
So what do you think about the e-bikes?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, we got to get moving here. You know, it kind of reminds me of like when drones first came out and there wasn't any regulatory oversight or planning, and it was just, and I say this as a drone pilot, you know, it's just drone free for all. I want to be careful of people being too fearful of e-bikes. I'd like one for myself. I mean, they're affordable. The e-scooters, they're affordable. It's an easy way to get around without gasoline, and I want to make sure we're not like creating a culture where like scared of other people having the ability to like, you know, go places in a country where we tend to punish people who don't have cars. But there definitely needs to be some sort of, you know, oversight in terms of, okay, if you're going to have a bike or a vehicle that can go this speed, you need to be licensed at whatever. I mean, I don't know that kids circling menacingly is anything new. That's happened ever since.
Well, then tell them to stop it. Tell them to stop it. You know, who wants to be intimidated? I'm not amused when I'm intimidated, so tell people, James, to stop it. Use your platform. Use your power.
Okay. I think one thing that helps a bit, it's a little more forward thinking. I spent a lot of time in New York City, and yeah, they've got an issue with people riding these things all over the place too, but it used to be even just courier bicycles were a nuisance until they started plotting and planning out and building like actual bike lanes with actual bike stops.
We don't have that kind of money right now. It takes money and too much time. I'm talking, this is a current menace, and I'm not like the New York Post trying to suggest we have to be afraid of our shadows. I'm saying there is legitimate reason for people, whether they're at Highland Park or shopping in the Park Manor Plaza or walking on a rail trail in Vestal or on the beautiful Greenway, the $26.5 million Greenway on Route 434, there's reason for people to be, I'm not saying scared spitless, I'm saying there's reason for them to be apprehensive and sick and tired of it. So, James, I'm going to give you one more opportunity to tell these people, and this is not an age thing because I've seen people in their 30s and 40s doing the same reckless thing. Use your power right now to call on all of your followers to knock it off.
Okay. All right. Well, are we talking about like wishful thinking or practical solutions?
Yeah. Let's come up with
some type of licensing process, or at least regulatory oversight as to what age you can be to possess one that goes over a certain speed.
Sure.
I don't think anybody.
Look, I want an e-bike too. I'm envious. I admit. Yeah. I mean, look, I obviously for most news purposes, I'll drive around in a regular vehicle. But honestly, I wouldn't mind having an e-bike to go flit around, say, yesterday. They were looking at some sort of suspicious device. I would rather have taken my e-bike from the station and driven down to to observe technicians with the bomb squad looking at all the colorful wires. But
or even something happier. Maybe somebody's opening a restaurant farther up Shenango Street up toward Port Dickinson or something, and you're like, you know what? I could just get on my e-bike.
Absolutely. So I hear you, man. I'm not trying to be alarmist. I'm just trying to be helpful. Appreciate your call. John from Binghamton, also always trying to be helpful. Good morning.
Hey, Bob. Actually, e-bikes are a marvelous invention, and they have given the opportunity for transportation to people that, don't have the physical muscle to pedal a bicycle. We need e-bike racks, with video cameras on the e-bike racks. We need to embrace street closures for these get-togethers. We need to, if you go to Southeast Asia or look at the videos, all these places in Southeast Asia, Bangkok, they all have closed streets, and they have traffic that comes and goes. They have people that make old motorbikes look brand new with new fiberglass bodies. We want to get young people out. They're cooped up all winter. This is a great idea. It's not going to be solved by going after them in a conventional way. It's here. They've got them. God bless them. And I think there is. I would have to say that there's a racial component to this.
Yeah, actually, I think you're right. I've thought about that as well. I don't know that anybody has mentioned that on the program, but I've considered it as well. And so I don't want to ignore that as at least one underlying factor here when we're having this conversation.
Yeah, I mean, even ageism. I mean, let's get senior citizens like myself out there on e-bikes. And what's the difference between a street takeover and a cruise-in, really?
Good point. I mean, one is authorized in some cases by a business owner, sometimes, and sometimes it's promoted. I know one big business that actually kind of promotes that sort of thing a few times during the summer. But sometimes they're not specifically authorized, and yet, hey, it happens. And a lot of times, not always, but most times, law enforcement will monitor. They'll say, oh, my gosh, we've got 100 or 200 cars, but we'll keep an eye on things just to be sure. Because at any time, look, John, you know this as well as I do. Anytime you get a gathering involving more than one person, there's always a possibility of something going sideways. And that's why I think the police are always and should always kind of monitor. They don't have to insert themselves unless it's necessary, but do monitor gatherings.
Bob, tens of millions of dollars are spent on youth and youth programs in Broome County each and every year when you add it all up. The fact of the matter is kids find things that they want to do for themselves. They don't want corporate or governmental organization. They want to go way, way back. They want to do their own thing. And if we can shut down State Street for college co-eds to stumble around in with their bare navels hanging out and other stuff, we certainly can make accommodation for our own e-bike riders.
I think you're right. I think there's room for compromise. Obviously, I don't think the police should or want to tolerate dangerous behavior, but I do think I use this as a cliche, and sometimes people just shrug and say a community conversation. No, now is the time to actually have a community conversation, seriously, with young people in our area to find ways to make things better so everybody can actually enjoy this emerging technology and do it in a safer way. Thank you, John. Well, I'm not saying take away everybody's e-bike or every illegal or unlicensed vehicle. I'm saying let's find a way to improve safety and happiness for everyone. Sounds simple enough. I'm Bob Joseph. This hour, we welcome back to the studio Rob Mack, the Town of Union Supervisor. Good morning. How are you?
Good. Great to be here, Bob. Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome back. All right, e-bikes. It seems like everybody, not just in the town of Union, but around Broome County and in many communities across the nation, are talking about e-bikes. And I know that was a topic of discussion at Wednesday night's meeting of the town board.
Yes, it was. Last night we had a public hearing on trying to tighten up the laws on e-bikes in the town of Union. Now, we're not really allowed to do much on the road because that's New York State law and we can't supersede that law. But at least on town property and in our parks, we can tighten up the laws on where they're allowed, what's allowed, and increase the penalties for being in the park and doing damage to the park. And that's really what our goal here is. As I stated last night at the meeting, which most people fell on positive comments, we're not trying to restrict legal use of e-bikes. I think they're a great thing. If you are over the age of 16 and you're riding an e-bike in our parks, as long as you're staying on the approved trails, which is basically blacktop, we're okay with it. We have no problems with it, and we welcome you. What we're trying to curtail is minors under 16 years of age, many of them without helmets, and many of them not on legal machines. E-bikes should not go more than 20 miles an hour in upstate New York. New York City allows a little faster one. I think it's up to 25 or 28. But in upstate New York, 20 miles an hour is the max. And a lot of young people are getting bikes that are doing 30, 40 miles an hour. Some of them are not even classified as e-bikes because they may have an electric motor, but they don't have pedals. So they're actually motorcycles. And the only difference between a gas-powered and an e-powered is one's got electric motor, one's got a gas motor. They are both illegal to be on the streets anywhere in New York State. Even these little scooters that you see being sold, that a lot of kids are riding, they have to be under 16 or over to ride them. And those scooters have to go below 15 miles an hour to be legal in New York State. I'll just give you an example. I was over on the Parkway at a large retailer, and I saw them selling on sale e-bikes that go 20 miles an hour. That was the advertisement. And I said to the store manager, I said, do you realize that's an illegal bike to sell in New York State? They had no idea.
How much was it? What were they charging on sale?
It was half price, $300.
Really?
Yeah. So it would have.
I thought they were probably more expensive.
Well, it
I
would
didn't
have been
know,
$600.
Yeah,
but
I didn't know you could find one in Broome County for that.
Well, this was just the scooter.
Yeah.
This really wasn't an e-bike.
Right.
It was a little two-wheeled scooter.
Still, you can get hurt.
You sure can.
I mean, my
concern, 20 miles an hour?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, at 20 miles an hour, if I'm driving even on a $300 scooter and either I'm inattentive or somebody steps in front of me or whatever, obviously I could get hurt, probably even if I was wearing a helmet.
Bob, if you have a 4-inch wheel on a scooter, I've seen potholes in this town that are 2 feet deep. Can you imagine? They're going to go head over heels.
Then somebody is going to try to have their attorney contact the town's legal department, and then, because we know we live in a litigious society, and sometimes, lawsuits can happen whether or not somebody was injured through their own negligence or whatever. As far as at the meeting last night, we were told by one of our callers a few minutes ago that you did hear from representatives of the state police and the Broome County Sheriff's Office.
That's correct. We were, I thank both the state police and the Sheriff's Department for sending representatives. The new station commander in Endwell came over, and one of the deputy sergeants came over, and they were there to answer questions for the public. I was hoping for a little more message on how they could crack down on it. Sheriff Akshar had a press conference a couple weeks ago and announced that there would be an upcoming crackdown after trying to educate the public. And that's what we're doing today and last night is education. And I'm hoping after that education, we're going to see a decrease and parents are going to get the message that what they're letting their kids do is not legal.
that's the scary thing, that parents in many cases are very much aware of what's going on, and sometimes they're actually encouraging the behavior. At least they buy the e-bikes or scooters, and from what I'm told, even from the caller a few minutes ago, they had what constituted apparently some kind of street takeover in Endicott on Washington Avenue a few nights ago. And then when the cops came, as they must, when things get out of hand, then apparently many of the participants just went over to the Huron parking lot and put their bikes or scooters in their parents' vehicle, and they drove away. And my concern is, as parents, I think they should have a real responsibility for the safety of their kids and the safety of the community. Look, I can understand they want their children to be able to have a good time, but as to paraphrase what my mom used to say, it's all fun until somebody gets hurt.
That's exactly right. I'll tell you, I have been sent countless videos, pictures, and I can't tell you how many complaints. Bob, I've been in and out of public office and working for the town for almost 15 years. I have never seen a topic with such community frustration from callers and from letters and from emails. There are days where we have over 20 kids, minors, 12, 13, 10, in Highland Park, all over the park. They're going through the kids' playgrounds. They're up running around the carousel. They're using the banks in Highland Park as jumps. People are walking. They're going through the park. It's a dangerous situation. And they're very brash. You try to ask them not to do it. You try to talk to them, and many times you get cursed at or you get disrespected.
Which disrespect doesn't bother me. I was a kid once too.
I was accused of it probably more than once.
Of course. But, and it is a component of growing up. But again, I think the overriding concern, and we've seen many cases elsewhere in New York State and around the country where young people have been seriously hurt or killed. And I'm unaware of any e-bike or scooter related fatality here in Broome County.
Close by, yeah.
Yeah, but there have been injuries. There have been injuries of young people and adults, and in many cases, not always, but in many cases, because of careless behavior on the part of the person operating an illegal vehicle. Sometimes it's also exacerbated because people driving cars and trucks aren't paying attention or aren't expecting someone to zip past them, ignoring vehicle and traffic.
And you can't hear them.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, too.
If you don't mind, I'd like to just mention something. Last week in Schenectady, the police had a major crackdown on illegal e-bikes. And they wrote out 47 tickets and arrested 8 people on an illegal bike crackdown. This was a coordinated effort with the state police, the sheriffs, and the Schenectady Police Department up at in the Albany area. They had 47 vehicle traffic tickets issued, 1 DWI, 2 arrests for aggravated unlicensed operation, 5 arrests for city ordinance violations, 18 electric dirt bikes seized, 3 e-bikes seized, 3 gas-powered dirt bikes seized, 5 mopeds seized, including one of them was stolen, 1 go-kart seized, 1 scooter seized. And since the start of June, the Schenectady Police Department reported they received 245 e-bike related complaints, 40 personal injury accidents involving e-bikes, and 11 property damage accidents involving e-bikes. Now, they're not insured. So when there's property damage, who pays for it?
Yeah. Well, and there's so many layers to this problems, financial problems, and just the human, the misery if you're hurt, whether it's a kid or anyone else, and just the fact that even if nobody gets hurt, it's affecting quality of life too. And I can't put a price on quality of life if I'm in Highland Park or at Round Top or Otsningo Park and I'm unable to enjoy just tranquility, whether I'm walking around or just sitting and enjoying a summer day. That's priceless. And we don't have enough time or enough nice weather to have our short periods of relaxation adversely affected by people who are zipping around and not necessarily trying to cause trouble. Some, I suspect, are trying to cause trouble. A lot, I think, are just young people or older people just trying to have a good time and enjoy life their way. But when it has this kind of impact on so many people, that's when action needs to be taken. Now, at this point, will the Town of Union Board adopt any specific legislation regarding this issue?
Yes. We last night had some suggestions from a couple folks that they wanted the law possibly to have a little clearer language. And we are taking that under advisement, and we will tweak a few of the sections of the law, and we will be voting on it probably at the next board meeting. Because last night was a public hearing, and the purpose of a public hearing is to take the town's folks, the residents' input. And we listened last night, and we will come out with a final draft probably at our next meeting. And you would be able to come in and comment on that before we vote on it. Hopefully we'll get something passed. And then we'll get some new signage up in the parks. And we're going to have our park employees have the ability to issue at least a warning type citation and refer it to police if it's ignored in the future. We don't, normal people can't issue tickets, but we can at least let people know that we have their number and that we're going to refer to law enforcement. Our guest is Robert Mack, the Town of Union Supervisor. We'll talk more about town-related issues in a moment. It's Thursday morning. I'm Bob Joseph on WNBF. It's 10:27, live and local. Bob Joseph, always asking questions. And our guest this morning in the studio is Rob Mack, the Town of Union Supervisor. Town Board has taken some action regarding canines, dogs in town parks. What has the board decided about this? Well, I'm going to say a lot of people don't know this, but dogs are actually illegal in Town of Union parks. I didn't know that. Except for the dog park. And so it's a law that has not been followed by probably any dog owner who lives close to a Town of Union park. And, it's not a good thing to have laws that people ignore. It's just not a good precedent. So we decided that we would rather try to control the situation than eliminate it. So one of the things we're doing is we're actually going to allow dogs in the park legally with leashes only. And if they get caught not picking up after themselves or their dogs, there will be a very steep fine. And again, the park employees will be able to witness it, issue a warning, and it will be turned over to dog control for action. We also will be installing dog collection stations in the parks. You've seen them, I'm sure, before with bags and a receptacle. Yep. So we're going to try to help people with that situation. I would say that 99% of dog owners are very, very responsible. But you get a bad one every now and then, and we need to try to police that. Now, there is one park we decided, Councilman Bertoni was quite adamant that he felt West Endicott Park, where the carousel is, where the kiddie pool is, should not have dogs in it because it's a small park. And we all agreed, and I think it was a good move. We're still not going to allow them in that little park because of the number of small children. Highland Park is huge, but West Endicott is a tiny little park, and so we're not going to allow them in that park, but our other town parks we are going to allow. So I think that's a good move for us, and once we get the dog stations set up and stuff, I hope we see everyone being responsible in taking care of their dogs and keeping them on a leash. And
How soon? Obviously, mentioned the equipment has to be installed. As far as the provisions, are they basically effective immediately? That people now are legally, with the exception of West Endicott Park, able to keep their dogs or take their dogs as long as they're leashed in the other Town of Union parks?
Last night was the public hearing for input. That's not the law change. So at our next meeting, we will be again changing the law. And after that, we're hoping that we can get these installed and get new signage in the park telling people what the rules are.
You mentioned West Endicott Park. What's the status of the carousel? Unfortunately, carousel hasn't been able to run so far this season.
Right. As you know, there is only one company pretty much in the country that knows how to rebuild antique carousels. And our running gear, I guess you would call it, is up in Connecticut. And there are some large pieces being custom made to fix our carousel. We have a meeting on Monday trying to nail down a date of getting it returned. There is some hope that we may see it in the next month, but it's going to miss the season. There is going to be a Halloween trunk or treat that National Pipe puts on in mid-October, maybe the third week of October. I can't remember the date off the top of my head. And we always open the carousel for that event, and it always has been a big hit with all the young kids who come down because it's a huge affair. And we are really hoping we'll get it back for that. But I might have an answer for you on Monday, Bob. So if I get a date, I will get it to you and you can announce it.
Thank you. Thank you. And it also can be stipulated that the Highland Park Carousel is running.
Yes, it is. Up and running and in beautiful shape.
And also within the town, in the village of Endicott, the Northside Park has its carousel. Unfortunately, also in the town, Johnson City's carousel at CFJ Park can't operate the season. You know, George F. Johnson should have paid a little bit extra and gotten a 200-year warranty instead of a 100-year warranty when he was acquiring these half-dozen carousels that he gave to the community.
Years ago, it would have been prudent to start a trust fund. You know, if a trust fund would have been started for maintenance on these machines, we wouldn't be having this problem right now. But hindsight's always 20/20. But I do believe, at least the Town of Union, we're talking about setting up a repair fund for the carousels, putting a little bit of money into it, hoping it will grow. But we're also going to be looking at doing yearly inspections by professionals, not just the town employees, so we can see something coming in the future and possibly not have to shut something down for months at a time to get it repaired.
Talk about some new projects going on in the town. Understand the next phase for the Homestead Village development may be about to move forward. Yes,
before the planning, Tuesday night we had a planning board meeting at the town, and one of the topics that was on the board meeting as a preliminary, it's basically telling us it's coming, is that the Homestead Village, which is up off of Eagle Drive and near the old IBM 9-hole golf course, below Traditions, is going to be reopening its Phase 2. When that project was originally started back in 2005 or so, it was supposed to be a 3-phase project. First phase was, I think, 32 units, second phase 32, and third phase 32. Due to an economic downturn in 2008, and then COVID and a whole bunch of other things, floods in 2011, it just wasn't the right timing for the developer to get it off the ground again. Recently, with some available grant money from Broome County and from New York State, the project looks like it's got a green light again. This was a project that was completely approved years ago. And basically, they just need to be submitting updated plans and everything being brought up to 2026 standard. There will be public hearing. There will be going through the planning board again, so there will be opportunity for public input. But with the need of housing in Broome County, it's a beautiful site, and they're very sought after. One of those condos, townhouses, I'm not sure what exactly they call them, when they go up for sale, boy, they're not on the market very long. So we're very hopeful that we're going to get some more of that type of housing in the town of Union.
I was just there, I think it was last Friday evening, because I was curious at going to the end of Eagle Drive.
Yeah.
And first, I'm always taken by how beautiful the existing homes are, and people were out and about. It was a beautiful evening. And then going to the end, you saw 4 deer wandering across and got a great picture. I thought, that's the tranquility. And I certainly knew that this second phase of the project was likely to move forward. So it's interesting to see what'll be happening there coming up in the next couple of years. Also, in West Endicott, actually not far from the park, on the other side of the railroad tracks on Dixon Street, there's a new project that I believe will be going forward. This is not far from, I still consider it Felix Roma's, the field right near the bakery that closed down, which is now operated by National Pipe. They acquired that property. But at 603 Dixon Street, something new is being planned there for a town business. Yeah, it came before the planning board on Tuesday night, again as a preliminary project. There's a local company that is called Wolex, and they also are they have a division, I'm not quite sure which way it goes, called Hank's Belts. Local, very good family in the community, the Cleo family, are looking to build a new warehouse and distribution center at that site. It is zoned industrial, so it is zoned for it. It's a clean facility, and doesn't manufacture anything. It's more of a distribution center. The preliminary plans of the building I saw are beautiful. I think the people on Dixon Street, I know with the issues they have with manufacturing across the railroad tracks at National Pipe, it may actually give them a better view than piles and piles of pipe. Yeah, and the railroad tracks. And the railroad tracks. And it may actually buffer them a little bit from some noise and things like that. And it's going to be, from what we've seen, preliminary, it's a low-traffic site. It's not going to impact the neighborhood, other than instead of looking at a field, you may be looking at a nice commercial building that has offices and then storage facility for their distribution. A lot more to come on it, but that is a project that just came before the planning board, so it is public information at this point. NYSEG is also developing or expanding their substation in the Robinson Hill area. Tell me about that project. Well, there's a lot going on up there, as you know. There is a solar site up there that has had multiple problems. Like we've said in the past, Bob, did you know water runs downhill? I did, and I think my friend over at Waterman Conservation Center knew that. And let's face it, when the solar project was being discussed next to IBM Glen, there were concerns about water runoff. And as it turns out, some of those concerns were well founded. Yeah. It's pretty hard to disturb that much property and control the runoff. And I don't have the answers. I'm just saying that it was a big project, and some of the problems have not been remediated. We have shut it down. I know it was shut down for a couple weeks just recently by the town, and that may have been the second time or more because of problems up there. But also up there, which I think will be less trouble for the Glen because it's more on the other side of the hill, we have a battery storage facility going in. There's a lot of people who are against battery storage facilities. This particular facility was actually approved by the town in 2021, and it never happened.
The original 2021 approval was for a larger facility with a more dangerous type of battery. It was originally approved for what they call lithium-ion battery, which is where you hear all the horrible stories about fires and about problems with battery storage. They have completely redesigned the site up there. It's actually going to be a smaller site, but with more storage capability because of the technology changing so rapidly. And the new storage batteries are actually called lithium-ion batteries, or iron yes. batteries. Yep. And that is a totally different technology, and it's far less volatile than the lithium-ion batteries. They've also developed new pods where these units are stored, and they are totally individual units. So if one of them did have some sort of failure, it does not spread to the next.
So a failure issue should be isolated to just one section of the facility?
One pod, yes. And the fire departments, both Johnson City and Endwell so far, are being educated on how to deal with these situations. It is in the Johnson City Fire District, which is a paid department, 24/7 coverage. The Endwell Fire Department will be a secondary alarm if there was a problem up there. And they're being educated on helping what to do with them. The biggest thing is you don't try to put it out. You don't try to open up the container, because the containers are built so strongly they can contain whatever's inside them. And about the most that they would be doing is spraying a mist over it to cut down on any smoke that may be coming out of that unit, that particular cell.
Could this technology, though, still, if there's a fire or some failure, still develop what's known as thermal runaway? Is that possible with lithium-ion batteries?
They guarantee us it is not. They claim that all over the world, that these, globally, not just United States, that these lithium-ion batteries have not had a fire or failure yet.
How soon might they actually then get moving on this? As you mentioned, the original project, the battery storage project, was discussed and approved years ago. If approval, which I understand. Well, I don't know. Did the planning board actually give the go-ahead this week?
Did.
Okay.
Yes,
so is there any indication of how soon they could start doing work at that
site? I believe they're going to try to get moving as soon as possible. We have actually been negotiating or talking with them for quite a while now. And we just got the new revised plan totally before the planning board and approved by all the authorities. It still has some time. It has to, I think New York State has to give a final blessing. There's a couple other blessings they need. I'm just going to throw it out there and say maybe springtime for a start. I don't think it's going to happen like next week. I believe they're talking about 2027 early to get it going.
Is this being developed by a different company than the company that had made the original application?
As what we see with a lot of these companies, they change hands quite frequently. This is a different company.
Do you have a name?
It's called BayWa.
BayWa.
And don't ask me how to spell it.
I think I know.
But I will get it to you.
I remember the program back in the day. It was a hit show for some reason.
Not quite.
No, not quite. But that hasn't stopped them from rebooting it and say, BayWa 2026. But that's a different story.
I think that was BayWa.
Oh, okay. I get so confused. There's so much going on. We have more to talk about. Things going on in the town of Union. Our guest is the town supervisor, Rob Mack. You're listening to WNBF. Talking with the town of Union supervisor, Rob Mack. Let's talk a little bit more about that battery storage facility, a couple of other things that you would like to add about that project.
Yeah. Well, I just like to give some statistics about it. The original project, as I said, was a larger project. They were going to be taking down more trees and disturbing more land. We were happy to hear when they came back to us that because of the new technology, which is much more compact, they were able to decrease the size of that project probably by 20%. So the new project will be a 7.9 acre developed site on a 14 15-acre parcel. So there will be a good buffer of trees still around that facility, and it should not be visible from the road other than an access road. They also changed the access road. Instead of coming out on Robinson Hill Road, they're actually going to be coming out of the same road that the solar farm is on. So they were able to make it so there's only going to be one access going into that property. So we were happy to see that too, because there's less chance of accident and less land disturbance by doing that. It's what they call a 150 megawatt storage facility. To give you an example, 150 megawatts could power pretty much 80% of Broome County for 4 hours. So if for some reason the transmission to our substation up there or something got knocked out, that facility could actually kick in and supply us with emergency electricity for up to 4 hours. And that would be if the whole county got knocked out. So if it's only partial sections being knocked out or something, as long as they can get the juice to them, it's a much safer grid for Broome County to have this sort of backup. The other thing about these battery storage facilities is they allow solar farms to send their energy there for storage when NYSEG doesn't need their energy. Because NYSEG can't use, all these solar farms are sending their energy from 7 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon. And NYSEG doesn't always need all the power that they are producing. Okay, it's just going into the grid, and some of it's not being used. So having storage facilities is really the new way of doing green energy, because you have to be able to store it for nighttime and for when we have cloudy days, which I know we don't, but it's something it's a great way to make your green energy more efficient. So I just wanted to finish up with that.
And we touched on the NYSEG work and the fact that they're doing additional substation work on Robinson Hill. I think is critical, and a lot of people probably roll their eyes and say, well, why do I care? Bottom line is, anytime NYSEG is doing something to enhance the grid, whether it's here in the southern tier or anywhere else in their service area, we know that there is an insatiable demand right now for more power. Yes. And reliable power.
Yes, we know that. What's NYSEG's doing is they are building, and that was at the planning board on Tuesday too, by the way, Bob. NYSEG is building an entirely new substation off of Robinson Hill Road again, but on the other side of the road. An entirely new substation, and then they will decommission, I believe, the old substation when they get the new one up and running. The new one up and running has considerably more power than the old one that they'll be able to deliver to Broome County. As you know, and we've talked about this before, across the river in Vestal, the Broome County Transit Garage doesn't have enough power to charge their buses unless something's changed recently. And they're using gas-powered generators to charge their buses, electric buses. It seems crazy.
It seems somewhat ironic.
Yes, it does. But the new substation will have the power, and plus they're going to build a substation over in Vestal on the end of Commerce Drive that's going to receive that power to improve the power flow over to the Vestal side of our county.
Speaking of power, and this is within the town of Union, although it's in the village of Endicott, we covered the development of a new natural gas fuel cell system, and I don't know if this is the only one now in Broome County. I'm unaware of any others like it, and I found it intriguing last winter when I saw nighttime construction activity, while I was traveling down Watson Boulevard. So instead of driving right by and getting my Duff's Pizza, I said, I need to find out what they're doing. And they're building this natural gas fuel cell system, a company called Bloom Energy of California. And the more I found out, not just about the system, but why it was being developed, the more intrigued I was, because the fact is it was being developed to provide necessary power to a data center at the Huron campus in Endicott, a major data center that's basically been there, and I have to tell you, most people don't even know that it exists.
I will tell you that the town of Union was completely in the dark on it for the most part. It is a Village of Endicott property and project. I think would have been nice to be involved in that situation. But yes, they built a data center in one of the old IBM buildings. The investment from the company that put it in there is rumored to be about $1 billion. Not too long ago, I had a question about what happens to a reassessment when you put $1 billion into a building, including this power center that we've just talked about. We did have our assessor research it, and we basically were told that everything they put in that building can be on wheels quickly. And so there really is no opportunity for any type of reassessment because it's considered movable, portable property. So that's one issue. But the fact that $1 billion data center went into an old Endicott IBM building without pretty much being out there is interesting.
That might be one of the biggest private investments in Broome County in recent memory. I can't imagine anything that comes close.
I cannot either. I will say one thing. The power that they are using, NYSEG told them they could not provide power because we were already squeezed in Broome County, as you know. So they literally put in their own generator, 2 of them, I believe. They put in their own generators to power that data center. I've heard 2 things. I've heard it was natural gas. I also heard it was hydrogen, fuel cells. But I think it more likely natural gas because natural gas is still pretty cheap.
Right. Natural gas, I'm nearly 100% certain because I saw a NYSEG crews working, and they were working to install a connection to the existing natural gas lines over to that facility on Clark Street, just off Hayes Avenue. So I would be shocked if it's anything but natural gas. But the thing is, according to the internet, Global AI is the company that's operating the data center, and that is a really big company. And according to this quick search, Global AI was co-founded by one of the people was John Kelly, a former IBM executive and creator of IBM's Watson, which I believe is a supercomputer. So I wouldn't be surprised that Dr. John Kelly was very familiar with the Endicott IBM site, and that could be one of the key reasons why the data center was located there here on campus.
Not a bad assumption, Bob.
Going forward, we know there are going to be some, I think, significant announcements about the Huron campus and some new projects. What are you hearing?
At this point,
you're sworn to secrecy.
I'm taking the 5th, like Dr. Fauci.
Okay, I will not pester you like some people. You won't have to say it 117 times.
Just don't hold me in contempt.
You're always welcome back, and you're not under oath. Bottom line is, and the public can see this, and I know also from talking with people, just the work that's being done on the Huron campus, both on the east side of McKinley Avenue where the former IBM buildings were demolished last year. It's an active site now. Gorick finally is in a position where it's been bit by bit hauling away the demolition debris, even though they have to truck it 3 or 4 hours away because the Broome County landfill is still unable to accept that debris. Yeah. And then we also see that Huron, the owners of Huron campus, have been doing some additional external work to the buildings on the west side of McKinley Avenue. So, and also without telling tales out of school, I haven't been sworn to secrecy and I won't take the 5th, but yes, there will be some other developments with respect to other parts of the Huron campus that I think are going to emerge fairly soon. So it sounds as though that things are moving in the right direction.
I agree 100% with BAE making a huge investment in that campus, this global data center making a huge investment in that complex. Good things are happening, and people need to be optimistic. There will be jobs created. There will be new people coming into the area, and it's all good stuff for our community.
One site that still is linked to IBM, even though Big Blue hasn't owned it for years, the old Country Club site on Watson Boulevard in the town of Union. What's the latest on anybody's efforts to find something viable for that site?
I will tell you that I believe some new RFPs are going to be issued by the IDA, which you know are in control of that site. There were some different proposals a few years back. I personally did not support them, nor did the board. We thought it was a bad place for family-type housing because it was a dangerous road. There's no sidewalks. We didn't want kids riding bikes or e-bikes on that road, and we just thought it was a bad place for family housing. So that was rejected, and the state agreed with us and did not award any grant money to do that. So that site right now is ready for development, and with new RFPs, I believe, coming out from the IDA soon, hopefully we'll get some more action on it, especially with Homestead Village right around the corner, looking at starting construction again. Myself, I'd love to see a 50 Front Street there. It's a great location. You're right next to Wegmans. You're living on a golf course, basically. That's pretty.
I didn't even mention Chick-fil-A.
And
Wegmans
Chick-fil-A.
and Chick-fil-A, but I will.
You can't get through a show without mentioning it anyways. You know that.
And you know, town of Union won the big Chick-fil-A battle. I'm sure people in the town of Vestal will never acknowledge it, but it's happening. One other thing, also in that same general area, in Westover at 600 Main Street, I still love to refer to it as Air Force Plant number 59. Mm-hmm. There now will be some action to try to get that site ready for some redevelopment.
Yes. Final approval has come from the town of Union and I believe Broome County on the fill site. We've talked about it before. They need to fill that site and bring it up several feet, probably I think 6 to 8 feet, to get it out of the 500-year floodplain. And that project is finally going for final approval. And we should start seeing that, I believe, before the end of the construction season. So maybe September we'll start seeing some.
607-772-1290 is the number. If you have some thoughts, some concerns, some questions, I would recommend calling now or waiting till 12:30 to see how it goes. It's up to you, the viewer, to decide what time is right for you to try to call the program. So dial in, dial carefully, 607-772-1290. It's your information station. More information, more often. By the way, if you know anything about that suspicious device that resulted in the closure of, let's see, Henry Street, part of Henry Street and part of Liberty Street. If you know anything about that device that was discovered on Wednesday morning, you may contact the Binghamton Police Detective Division, 607-772-7080, and provide any information that could be helpful for that investigation. What else is going on here? It's always something. Have you noticed lately? It's always something. Here's more from the Washington Post, again, a newspaper that suddenly has regained its initiative to provide fast, accurate reporting. Well, maybe not as fast as I would like, but it's accurate. New exclusive from WAPO, the Washington Post. CIA had low confidence in Iranian threat before Trump switched planes in Turkey. CIA had doubts. Well, of course it did. It's the agency, after all. The agency had doubts about Israeli intelligence on a threat to Turkey, or threat to Trump in Turkey, that prompted the super secret flight. By the way, I think, from what I've read and heard, I think that Israel has been providing these reports of threats from Iran for a long time to the United States. I don't think this is that new. So let's read the actual story. U.S. intelligence officials were skeptical of an Iranian assassination threat against President Trump that was relayed by Israel and prompted the clandestine maneuver that saw him secretly fly out of Turkey while leaving little Marco and 13 innocent reporters on Air Force One. Yeah, we don't care if you're going to die. We don't care as long as we can commandeer this C-32A. The assassination threat was relayed by the Israeli government to the CIA, where analysts did not view the intelligence as compelling and conveyed that skepticism to Trump administration officials. Another official called the reports of threats against the president's life Israeli-derived and not U.S.-generated and viewed as low confidence. Well, there you go. As usual, the White House won't answer direct questions about all this. Why would they? Why would they? They should, but they won't. They should answer the questions, but they are opting not to. Okay. And again, thank you to the Washington Post, and hey, thank you to Jeff Bezos for allowing his newspaper reporters to actually do some excellent journalism. They're making excellent journalism, so I don't know if Bezos has suddenly unleashed the remaining journalist at his newspaper, or maybe they've decided, what the heck, they're going to fire us soon anyway, so we may as well do some legitimate reporting before he lays off the entire staff. Whatever actually is going on. Thanks. Kudos for the reporters and editors. And if Jeff Bezos is actually encouraging this sort of journalism, thank you to Mr. Bezos. Let's go back to the lines now at 11:17. Gary from Binghamton's West Side. You're on the air.
Morning, Bob. Hopefully Air Force One has defense mechanisms that can stop a shoulder-launched missile. Hopefully that's the case. If we are the most sophisticated country with all of this money and all of these defenses, hopefully Air Force One has that capability. I'm just pretty sure it does.
Well, I'm sure it does, which begs the question, why did he accept the bribe from Qatar, the $400 million bribe for a 747 that was actually made by Boeing in the United States by great patriotic Americans? Why did he even accept an aircraft that probably can't be retrofitted with all the bells and whistles that the existing aircraft has? It should go without saying, if he must travel, which I don't think he should have been in Turkey in the first place during the war, but he made that decision, which I think in hindsight it was foolish. But anyway, he made the decision to go into an effective war zone next to a country that he started a war with last February. But don't tempt fate. And certainly, of course, he wanted to fly in on Qatar 1 because it looks nice. Hey, I'll be honest. I think it looks quite nice. It's not appropriate for a sitting president to be flying around in an unsecured thing that could potentially be taken out by one of these shoulder-fired missiles. The existing Air Force One, I'm sure, or fairly certain, has enough equipment on, probably not to be taken down by even a couple of missiles like that, shoulder-fired. So, yeah, it just begs the question, why is he behaving so carelessly?
I think he's still doing rallies, too, but I'm 100%
And that's
sure
another thing. And the rallies, I think I went on the air earlier this week with a very appropriate suggestion. Until the war is over, and not just some sort of fake ceasefire, till the war is really over and there are no hostilities for at least a year, he should have no travel. And I mean that, literally, Sean Hannity. Literally, no travel except between the White House and Mar-a-Lago. Actually, I think he should just pick one place, whether it's Florida or D.C., and stay there for the rest of his presidency, because we already have had too many close calls. So he even minimizes the threat. So if he doesn't care about his own life, he should at least think of the American people. This country can ill afford a tragedy. So even if he doesn't think enough of his own safety, he ought to think of his family, his friends, his supporters, and the rest of the American people, and stop putting himself at risk unnecessarily. So I say pick a place. Pick one place, and stay there. The only communications, you can communicate by Zoom. I do it on a regular basis. There's no problem with that. If they or
through social or whatever it is.
No. And that's another thing. Stop with the social media. Start being presidential. Start as of today for the next 2 years. Be presidential. Surprise us all.
That ain't happening.
Yeah, I know it ain't happening. I'm saying
we would be surprised.
Well, most of all me. I probably, from a health standpoint, I don't think I could take it. If he didn't tweet or social or whatever he did, whatever he does for a month, I don't think physically, both from a physical standpoint and a mental standpoint, I don't think I could take it. I think, as Sean Hannity would say, I think my head literally would explode.
So would President Trump's, because if he couldn't do that, that would, that's what he's used to doing and stuff. Bob, I did want to talk about e-bikes, but also I had this thought, and I'd like to know your opinion on this. So one of the big issues between Republicans and Democrats is ICE, right? So ICE is supposed to get rid of people who commit felonies and prove it and have all of that stuff. But, they've overstepped their boundaries, and it's a difficult job, and people have gotten killed when they shouldn't have and stuff. So, okay, so the Republicans want ICE, but now the Democrats are saying no ICE. No ICE, this is not right. Well, what about if the Democrats said, you know what, we're going to have ICE if we get elected, but we're going to do it the right way. People who have committed felonies, we're going to have paperwork. We're going to go in and arrest them. We're going to not wear masks. We're going to have body cams, and we're going to do it the right way. What do you think about that, Bob? Is that a solution or no?
Well, it could be. It could be. Wouldn't that be great? If AOC wants to be president, she ought to propose that.
Because it is taking both sides into account.
Sure. If AOC, I bet many of our viewers would vote for AOC if she announced that would be her new policy when she was sworn in January 2029. I think a lot of people, even Republicans, even conservatives, would probably go for it. Even MAGA. MAGA would finally say, they would finally say, wait, that's something even we could support. And wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, right.
A new organization, maybe it'll be created even as soon as noon today, a new organization, a political movement called MAGA for AOC.
Yeah. Or Cool Ice, right? They're gonna
exactly. I like it. Cool Ice.
Rebranded.
The coolest ice. And actually, this will really confuse the heck out of Republicans and would take the wind out of their sails. Any hope that they had of winning or retaining control of the House and Senate in November, it would confuse all their strategists. They'd have to junk all their ads because suddenly you've got Democrats, including AOC and others, talking about cool ice with a catchy jingle and zippy dance moves on TikTok, and there'd be no way the Republicans would be shut down in the blink of an eye. Cool ice. We support ice. We support, how about this? Not just cool ice, Ice Plus.
Yeah.
You know, if Paramount Plus and CNN Plus, if everybody else can have a plus and market it as not just bigger but better and more efficient and helping all good Americans, and even helping, even if you don't like them, helping those who may be in the country illegally, so we treat every person who's in the USA today as a human being. I mean, even Republicans want all people to be treated as humans.
Not every one of them. You know, Bob, you're talking about heads exploding. Since AOC is going to be our president, would Republicans' head explode if Hillary was the vice president also?
Don't go there. What is wrong with you? Everything, oh my gosh, everything was going so well, and then suddenly this is like running that train on the Altoona curve.
We need to get that dog and follow them around, and every time they say these things, you know?
Sheesh. Gary, you have to know where to draw the line.
I miss Hillary. I do.
Well, hey, I do too.
I actually miss Joe. I hope he's doing well. We don't hear from him at all. We don't hear from the former vice president at all. Anything.
You know who I really miss,
Let's
though?
Stop the war. You know, she don't speak up.
I miss Mike Pence.
Pence has been on somewhere. I know I've seen him somewhere.
Yeah, but not much. I'll show you how. Listen to this. Talk about a blast from the past. You want to hear something funny?
Go ahead.
This is a blast from the past. This shows you how much we miss Hillary Clinton in Binghamton.
Breaking news as it happened. WNBF delivers.
I want you to tell everybody on Court Street that the FBI is investigating a lot of these institutions as we speak. Once we get through this immediate crisis, I expect the Congress to hold very tough hearings.
Missing a minute can cost you a lot. Make sure you're listening to your hometown station for news you can depend on. Here on News Radio 1290 WNBF.
What was going on in Court Street?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Wait, hold on. Yeah, she did say, I want you to tell everyone on Court Street. Hold on. I thought that was about as clever as when Reagan said something about your beautiful valley of opportunity. Hold on. Somebody must have told her about people on Court Street when I was interviewing her. Hold on.
I want you to tell everybody on Court Street that the FBI is investigating
That was during a live interview. I didn't tell her anything about Court Street. She must have known.
What was the FBI investigating?
Well, I think I know, but I'm not going to tell because I don't want their special agent coming in and telling me, shh, it's top secret, Gary.
There's a helicopter flying over the WNBF building right now.
Yeah. A helicopter they dispatched, the secret bonus helicopter that they keep in the secret hangar in Owego that I'm not allowed to talk about. That helicopter.
Wait, Bob, I'm not kidding. I just looked out the window. I think I saw the bat signal.
There you go. And who knew? Who knew the program would end on August 13th, 2026?
Okay, Bob.
Thanks.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks. I'll say at least he disappeared doing what he loved to do. It's a darn shame. It's a darn shame he didn't know when the mic was on. Oh, you tell everybody on Court Street. All right, Hillary, I'll do that. Oh my gosh. Somebody sent me a picture of an Oreo, a package of Oreos limited edition. Listen to this. This is the craziest. They can do this with Oreos, but they better not do it with Malamars. Limited edition cinnamon buns. I would try one. I see some people are not looking forward to it, but I would definitely try one. One, it's probably the limit. It's probably 92% sugar. 7% cinnamon, and 1% Bon. Vinny from Binghamton, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Bob. To answer Gary's question before he got on is talking about ICE and the Democrats. I was going to tell him that Obama already did it. Yeah, Obama, he did
so that's already. Okay, that's a good point. So basically, AOC could say, what we're going to do is circle back and have ICE run the right way. Because there was a time, in my opinion, to the best of my knowledge, when ICE was being run the right way, doing its mission, and also not killing innocent people on the streets. There was a time when that happened, and a time when ICE agents weren't being given electric gloves so they can teach you a lesson without leaving any telltale evidence. I mean, what happens when the ICE agents here in Binghamton and over in Vestal wind up with electric gloves? I mean, that's going to be a field day.
Yeah, and during Obama's second administration, he told them, I want you to narrow this down. I want the criminals. So that gentleman who got deported or whatever happened to him, I don't know if anybody knows, down there in Owego with the Chinese restaurant or Japanese restaurant.
The Chinese restaurant.
Be there.
Yeah. No, they kicked him out. They kicked him out.
Yeah.
I loved his restaurant. And I tried desperately. to interview him. And then he wound up in Batavia, and before I knew it, before I had a chance, I was efforting. I came this close to being able to have him actually in the studio when he was for a time free. And unfortunately, before I knew it, I blanked, and then I found out, well, it's not going to happen because now he's in China. And I just feel my heart breaks for him, for his wife, and for their children.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, there's probably a real criminal out there. You don't have time for it because you're wasting your time with innocent. It just boggles my mind. But my thing is this just shows you this type of leadership. Bob, one of the things that you talked about was, what do you miss? I miss the leadership, the accountability, the maturity, and the respect out of the White House, the way it's always been.
I miss presidents. I miss presidents who didn't say bad words in public on a regular basis.
Exactly. I mean, when the news comes out, do you know Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, was on that plane? What if that thing blew up? But Hegseth, he was with Trump.
That's interesting. You're right. But also, did you see who was this? This is curious, and this is why the White House soap opera is so soapy. So, of course, Hegseth was flying around on the C-32A with DJT, which I'm not surprised about. But did you see who else was left on as a sitting duck with the 13 innocent reporters and little Marco?
Yeah, who was that?
What's his name? Stephen. The Stephen that Matt Ryan loves. Who's that? The troublemaker at the White House, the one who apparently hates everybody.
Stephen
Miller. Stephen Miller was on the plane with little Marco and 13 reporters. So even Stephen Miller now is probably looking at his savior, Donald Trump, and saying, you put me, it's bad enough that I was stuck on this plane with little Marco and 13 great reporters, but you put me potentially in a position where I was going to be shot out of the sky by a person who was probably paid $50 to use a shoulder-fired missile to try to take down this 747 while you flitted off with Pete Hegseth to London in your C-32A. Who knows if Stephen Miller may resign today too. And I'm not buying this story about the press secretary resigning all of a sudden to spend more time with her family. I think.
Yep.
You know how they say rats desert a sinking ship?
That's it, Bob.
I may not have the highest level of confidence in the current press secretary, but I do think she's smart enough to know when the ship is sinking and to get away while you can before the whole house of cards falls down. I think she knows in less than 3 months the whole house of cards is about to come falling down.
Exactly. And, Bob, this is a perfect example of what happens when you sell your soul, okay, to this man. It's about him. And if you haven't learned it by now, you better realize, and I've said it before, I'll say it again. You don't sit there and bad talk him, and all this kind of, you just say, I'm gone. I've planned, and use the old, I want to see my family more, and get out of Dodge, man.
I wouldn't be surprised if J.D. Vance quits, too, because Vance has been thrown under the bus several times now since the war started. He's been using Vance as sort of a lightning rod. Every time something goes wrong, it's like, oh, it's Vance's fault. If I were J.D., I'd say, enough of this. I'm out of here. I have nothing to gain. I'll go home and actually spend time with my couch, and I'll enjoy life now. And I don't have to put up with any more of having to pretend that I support the unsupportable. I'm out of here. Hey, let them all quit. That's what they all should do. They should all quit en masse. All walk out, say at noon on Friday. Say enough is enough is enough. You are loyal, sir, to no one but yourself. You're not loyal to any of your staffers. Maybe you're loyal to your assistant, whatever her name is, Natalie Wood or whoever. But you're not loyal. You're not loyal to little Marco. You're not loyal to Steve Miller. You're not loyal to those 13 innocent journalists. You are loyal essentially to yourself. You don't care about the work we've done desperately trying to support the unsupportable. So we're out of here, buddy.
Absolutely. Bob, but you know what's interesting? I wonder what Jeannie's going to do now. Because I guess they have something coming up about if she's going to go after Fauci or what's going to happen now.
Oh, that's another good point. That's an excellent point. She does, and who knows? Who knows? Yeah, obviously Fauci is probably one of her targets with this super special double trouble, double stuffed grand jury, which apparently is rarely employed. Hey, what if I'm on her list? Who knows? They've been trumping up charges. They went after an Olympian for something that was totally bogus. So who knows who's next? Yeah, obviously Fauci. And probably, obviously, somebody from the New York Times who isn't named Maggie. I mean, they need their Maggie. They covet their Maggie, and she covets them. And I'm not being judgmental. I'm just saying she's probably safe. And I'm thinking, yes, obviously Fauci will be probably one of Jeanine Pirro's targets, probably some of the real reporters for the Times, and also probably some of the real reporters for the Washington Post who suddenly have developed a spine and have suddenly decided, hey, hell with Bezos. He's going to lay us off anyway, so let's do some real reporting and get some scoops in our final days on the job. That'll show them.
Yep, that's right.
I love it.
Jeannie's the kind of person that I wish she would be. It'd be entertaining for her to say, I'm out of this crazy place.
It would be funny. I wouldn't, she, say what you will about Jeannie Pirro, but I'm struck that she is a very independent person, and she may finally say, bleep you, and she might say it without bleeping it, because I think at this point, hey, she could go back to Westchester County and whatever, have a talk show there, or heck, join me here in Binghamton.
That's right.
I offer here and now to co-host the show for at least 1 month to see how it works with Jeannie Pirro. There, I said it. And people would say, well, politics makes for strange bedfellows, and I would say it absolutely does, and I'm not going to talk about my private life, and nor will she. We'll just do the show. We'll do the best show possible. It'll quiet the critics, those who say that I don't give enough balance to the show. With Pirro, we'll call it Jeannie and Bob. Jeannie and Bob. Yeah. And she can have top billing for the month of September, and she can decide the topics on even days. I'll decide the topics on odd days, and we'll see how it goes.
Could you imagine that? Oh my God!
And suddenly people are saying, "What the heck?" Now Bob is driving her 2028 Escalade, and the worst thing is he's driving this late model Escalade and going down Interstate 86 at exactly 65 miles an hour, and saluting the New York State troopers who are giving both of them, Jeannie and Bob, a thumbs up. It's
Absolutely.
like almost equivalent with dogs and cats are swimming together in the reflecting pool.
I would love it. I think she'd be good.
She would be. And here's the thing. Some people are like, oh, Bob, you wish. Yeah, I wish. At least here's what I'm honest about. I have said on more than one occasion I would not like to do a program with a co-host because, hey, it's my ego. But I offer here and now to stay in this building in Binghamton and drink an entire glass of Moxie with Jenny Pirro. I'm serious, and do a show for the next month with her getting top billing, and we'll just see how it goes.
Oh my God! The ratings would go through the roof. Bob.
And suddenly the noon to 3 slot nationally would be occupied by Jeannie and Bob, and suddenly the people who used to love Rush, as well as the people who used to love Rachel from MS Now or whatever she used
Maddow.
to have. Rachel Maddow fans and Rush Limbaugh fans would finally agree on one thing. This Jeannie and Bob show is literally the best.
I think you got a winner.
We do. Thank you. Literally the best. Even Hannity would start listening and teach him a thing or two. 11:44. Let's go back to the phones. Dave from Vestal, you're on the air.
Hello there, Bob. Didn't mean to interrupt the clown show, Bob, but I ran out of Tums. I was getting a little bit queasy. Hey, Bob, speaking of ice, who are you or Gary or Vinny or anyone else to determine what the right way is and who should leave? That's what I want to know. Only the criminals? You know how many millions of Americans want them all to go? They're eating up housing. They're eating up jobs. They're eating up our tax dollars. We want them all to go. Bob, how about this? I suggest Gary, you and Vinny house them, feed them, and give them your jobs. How's that sound?
Not very good. Matt from Binghamton, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, on another topic that I don't think many people probably if they only listen to one news source know about is what's happening on the ship, the Abraham Lincoln ship where the conditions are deplorable.
Oh, I heard that it's so bad that the service personnel are jumping overboard.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a joke. And
no, I know it's not a joke. I heard it on my way going in, and I'm thinking, how bad must the conditions be that some of our proud men and women who signed up, look, they volunteered to serve their country, and they can take it no more, according to the news accounts.
Exactly, and it's like that it just shows you what we're doing by being involved in this war and what we're putting our soldiers through. It's horrible, and it's a war that we didn't have to fight, and it's just another indication of how Pete Hegseth he wants people to take testosterone tests, but he'll let them live in deplorable conditions and not have proper food to eat, proper sanitation, all the things that are outlined in these reports, and it's just disgusting. I just don't know how people continue to even think about supporting an administration that would allow our service.
Can Hegseth be court-martialed?
Yeah, I mean,
Look, he's Secretary of Defense. Seems to me they ought to court-martial him. If this is true, and I'm again, for those who haven't heard, this is a story from the CNN News Channel. It reports a sailor went overboard off the USS Abraham Lincoln. This is according to a U.S. official who spoke with CNN. This is amid reports of worsening mental health for crew members on the ship during extended deployment for the Iran war. The sailor was quickly rescued and was medically evaluated. The incident of the sailor going overboard adds to a growing list of concerns about the crew on the ship. And lawmakers are calling for answers after concerns have been raised by families of sailors aboard the Lincoln with deteriorating living conditions. They're worried apparently they're not getting food delivered appropriately, and the conditions are getting worse and worse by the day.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't. The thing is that report will never be done on the, they call us the mainstream media. It'll never be done on whatever they want to call that side.
Well, fortunately, a couple of military news outlets are reporting this. Stars and Stripes has had a story which was published a couple of days ago, and I'm telling you, if members of Congress don't get some answers and don't get Pete Hegseth in front of them for a hearing, Congress makes a big deal about trying to make certain people look bad. Congress has been doing that with Anthony Fauci and doing it with other fine government officials, people who have served this country proudly in the past. But if the Congress, the Republican leaders in Congress, don't get Pete Hegseth to answer some serious questions about what's happening, not just aboard the Abraham Lincoln, but also in some of the other settings where our service personnel have been deployed since the war began in February. I mean, something is seriously wrong. This is a huge issue. And yes, some people say, oh, Bob, you're raising the issue of these bad physical conditions and bad mental health conditions for our military personnel. You're just doing it to try to distract us. No, I'm not trying to provide another distraction. This needs to be investigated right away. I appreciate you bringing it to our attention, Matt, and I am looking forward. Maybe Josh Riley would call in. Not today. The program's nearly over. Maybe Josh Riley could call in tomorrow to talk about the concerns that he and other members of Congress might have about the deplorable conditions that our military people are facing. It's a very serious problem based on these news accounts. It's 11:50. I'm Bob Joseph, standing up for all Americans on WNBF. 11:54 here at the station in Binghamton, New York. Forecast now from the National Weather Service. Partly sunny this afternoon, high 81. Partly cloudy tonight, low 59. Mostly sunny tomorrow, high 82. And the weekend forecast, sunny Saturday, high 81. Mostly cloudy Sunday with a few showers and a thunderstorm, the high 81. So if you want to do something this weekend, you ought to schedule it for Saturday or run the risk of getting rained on Sunday. Right now it's 75 in downtown Binghamton, 24 Celsius. And right now, air quality, not so hot. It's now moderate. Air quality index for Binghamton now up to 52 as you enjoy some wildfire smoke from some distant fires in Canada and Washington State. 607-772-1290 is the number if you'd like to get another call in edgewise on this Thursday. You can give it a shot here at WNBF and WNBF.com. 607-772-1290 as the fun and frolic continues. Alan from Binghamton writes on the email system, if Hegseth can investigate Senator Kelly for nothing, Hegseth should be able to be investigated for this matter. Thank you, Alan. I tend to agree. I do agree with your point. Ooh. Yeah, thank you to one of our key sources working on more information about something serious that's going on around here. So I've been trying to connect with a source now for 2 days, and a source has just provided the phone number, so you can bet within about 10 minutes after we shut this program down, I will be on the line with a confidential source. Which probably explains why they have all the license plate readers and all the cameras and why they're monitoring my cell phone. But I still... No, scratch that. I won't be talking with a confidential source at all this afternoon. So you people with your cameras and your plate readers and your telephone monitors, I am not contacting a confidential source today. I'm waiting till probably tomorrow night. Okay? There. Oh, here's another one. And also from Alan from Binghamton, and he points this out, and it's so true about e-bikes. I'd be nervous about park employees confronting these riders. You never know if these people become aggressive against employees doing their jobs. It's a good point. And I got to tell you, without going into explicit detail, some, not all, and I won't even say most, some of these e-bike riders are specialists in intimidation tactics. That's all I'm going to say about that for now. But at some point, they're going to cross the line with their intimidation tactics, and they're going to wind up being arrested. They're going to wind up facing some pretty serious charges if they don't watch out. I'm Bob Joseph.
News, talk, and information for Binghamton and Central New York. This is News Radio, WNBF Binghamton, a Town Square media station.
What if your bed felt like a luxury beachside resort every single night? That's Caraloha. Caraloha bamboo sheets and bedding are designed for incredible softness. In fact, Oprah Daly says Caraloha sheets are like slumbering at a luxe beachside resort. And Good Morning America calls them softer and cooler than cotton. If better sleep is calling your name, start with Caraloha bamboo sheets. Sleep cooler, softer, and better with Caraloha. Go now to caraloha.com. That's CARILOHA.com and try Caraloha bamboo sheets with free shipping over $100 and a 100-night trial.